This show is sponsored by BetMGM. Download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org. Please gamble responsibly.
Start the second half, this side on what that shot was. That was absolutely... What was that? It was pathetic. It was blasted.
But he pressed the wrong button on FIFA.
It was, yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times I have felt steam coming out of my ears.
No other names been written on that trophy yet. It's still getting mentioned in the final as Man City beat the reigning champions Newcastle.
2030, Newcastle United, this great club, will have been Premier League champions. That's what you're telling me?
That's our ambition.
Well, it's going to be a bloody exciting 4 or 5 years, isn't it? My word.
I'm going to judge every single thing they do on this.
One of the greatest things about Newcastle United is that the stadium is spitting distance from the big market.
Leaving St James's Park, we would lose something you cannot replace with all the money in the world. There's an element of soul to something like a building like St James's Park.
Hello and welcome to Inside the Toon, the show where we deep dive into all things Newcastle United. I'm your host, Olly Clink. Joining me on the panel today, journalist and broadcaster Jack Cunningham, Adam Clery from the Adam Clery Football Channel, and a very special guest joins us today, former major winner of the PDC Players' Championship, a member of the talkSPORT Darts commentary team, and of course, huge Newcastle fan. It's Paul Nicholson. Let's get straight into it. Guys, I'm afraid that we are no longer the holders of the Carabao Cup. Jack, look, they tried to go for it at the Etihad and ended up getting battered.
Yeah, I think that's fair way to go for it. They had to go for it. I think I saw people with the Arsenal-Chelsea game and sort of Racine got... Well, some people were praising them, some people were criticising them. I could kind of see what they were trying to do. Our situation was a bit different. That Cherky goal made it so that the fact that we knew the next goal in the tie was massively important. We had to go for it. Unfortunately, really naive defending for the opening goal. This was a bit unlucky for Burn, but overall, just that midfield, that gap in the midfield, constantly causing problems. And Reinders, after the game, said I was surprised how much space I had between the lines. I don't think that's a good thing to be hearing, to be fair. We did create a lot of chances. Willock should score. Gordon should probably score, and then start the second half this side on what that shot was. That was absolutely... What was that? It was pathetic. It was blasted.
But he pressed the wrong button on FIFA.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like rather than shoot, he clicked cross. Because he just hit it in a straight line into the crowd.
We've all done it.
Yeah,
We've all done it.
It was, wasn't it? It was so weird. It was really odd. So there was plenty of opportunities in the game, and I thought that I got the idea behind what we were trying to do, but ultimately the press was off. Players were too late into the press, into their man, which meant that the space was all over the place. And where we play anyway, we always now have this gap between sort of the defence and midfield, but usually we can cover it. The players look pretty tired, to be honest, in the first half. I'm not going to sit here and say that's an excuse, but ultimately we got done, and yeah, the second half was much better, but the tie was over.
It was great that all those City fans were there to see it, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah, no.
That was fantastic.
Wow, it was
good for them.
Bad.
That's the real quiz.
Yeah. Our fans were amazing, as always.
No, the Newcastle fans were brilliant.
They were brilliant. But Paul, I mean, Jack's right, isn't he? It was actually... I found the missing of the chances equally as frustrating as the fact that the defending wasn't great, because, let's be honest, like Jack says, they had to go for it. They were 2-0 down. But if they could have put the ball in the back of the net, it might have been a bit of a different tie.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we all had a collective hanging of the head when Dan Burn's making that challenge and it's going over the top of our goalkeeper in Ramsdale, and you think, oh, God, here we go. But the thing is, in that first half, there were opportunities. And I cannot tell you how many times I have felt steam coming out of my ears when Anthony Gordon's one-on-one with the keeper and he just fiddles it towards the keeper. There's no creativity. It's ridiculous. Get him on his left side and he just can't finish. Get him on his right side, he's probably going to put it in Rose Ed. I mean, he can't cross with his left foot. He can't finish with his left foot. So why is he on the left then? I know he's going to cut him, but that makes him one-dimensional. Fact is, he's not as good as Harvey Barnes. And last night, we saw the cracks in the armour of Anthony Gordon and some others.
And went off injured as well, which might actually give the chance for Harvey Barnes to start on that left-hand side. There was a goal for Anthony Elanga.
There was
a goal at the Etihad.
There was.
First one since Yedlin.
Yeah, which is amazing,
20
isn't it,
in it.
really? But really good finish as well. Is that a sign of the player that Newcastle have signed?
I wouldn't say I'm pleased that Sean isn't here, but I do. Whenever I say Elanga's a project, I do feel sort of the peril of his hand clipping me around the back of the head for it. You can't have a project at 55 million quid, and he's right to say that. But what I've always said about Elanga is they were buying raw ingredients. Like, getting bored of saying it now. They weren't buying a player who was a natural fit for Newcastle. They wanted to mould him into something. And you saw in that goal, that's the idea. Because he's fearless with the ball, he attacks players, he runs very directly, he's very hard to live with if you're a defender. He was doing that into open space at Nottingham Forest, and the idea was, well, if we can coach him to do it in tighter spaces between players, then we've got a really, really good player in our hands. Now, the problem is, it's February, and we bought him in the summer, and that's the first time we've seen that. That's not good, but to at least have seen it once now does show that, okay, maybe there is something here to work with, maybe progress is being made. You'd like to hope, it's obviously a cliche, that this can be a stepping stone, a building block, this can kickstart his season. It should give him the confidence that he's clearly lacking to show, like, look, you can do that. Like, this, it is there for you if you go and do it. So, yeah, nice to score a goal at the 8 Nice for Elanga to get a goal. I'm not as down on the whole tie as I know a lot of people are. Like, I think over the course of 2 games, we were not 4 goals worse than Manchester City. No. I thought we were really unlucky to lose 2-0 at home. I thought, you know, look at that first goal we get in a couple of minutes, that's such a freak goal. Trippier falls over for the second. I think it's devastating to, you know, be the reigning champions of the Carabao Cup and go out 5-1 on aggregate. That is hard to take. And obviously we can sit here and say if we took the chances, well, things would have been different. Well, yeah, that's every game of football that's ever been played. But if we're looking for, like, what does this all mean? Where do we go from here? I think there's positives to take from how well we played. We shouldn't let it derail our entire season. And yeah, I'm clinging on to God knows what here, but...
No, but, I mean, it's a good point, though, as well, because we've talked a lot about the fact that this run, I mean, it's like being in the trenches, really, isn't it? Yeah. You know, we've just played PSG away, Liverpool away, and Manchester City away when we were 2-0 down from that first leg. I mean, the Liverpool game for 40 minutes was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
Wasn't it?
Really good.
It's just been a bit of a story of the season, though, hasn't it, Jack, where at times Newcastle have been excellent in areas of the game, but then in other areas they just, you know, contrived to lose it, and that's been the frustration, the lack of consistency across 90 minutes.
Yeah, it feels like we can't string it together a good 90 minutes, because even PSG, argue first 30 minutes was absolute carnage, to be honest. And
that was horrifying. That was genuinely quite traumatizing.
And then we worked out, and then we were excellent for 60 minutes afterwards. But, you know, then Liverpool, yes, really strong start. But the problem we've got at the moment, for whatever reason, and maybe a problem over a longer period of time, is just sort of, we don't know how to control a game. There's other teams who defend with the ball, and we can't do that. I think our whole idea of defending is sort of out of possession, pressing, trying to sit back into a 4-5-1 formation. But it's starting to become, maybe players are getting tired or whatever. It's starting to be now getting worked out by other teams, and it's causing us issues. We need to become better in many ways when we have a lead or when we are in possession of being able to defend with the ball. Just take the sting out of the game for a little bit. You know, once you take the lead at Anfield, if you can make it through to half time at 1-0, that is a very, very different game, because this is not a Liverpool team who are the same one that won the Premier League. So that's sort of where I'm at the moment with Newcastle, and I can see the frustration that a lot of fans are having, and also equally there's a lot of players who it feels like we might be coming towards the end of their cycle.
Paul, where are you kind of sitting with the team at the moment and the season so far?
I can understand what was happening with the new signings positionally, as in actual personnel. Not 100% sold on it, because I think what Eddie Howe's trying to do is get 2 world-class players in every position. So he wants 2 strikers. He's got Voltemara, he's got Wissa, he's got Elanga, he's got Murphy, then he's got Barnes, and he's got Gordon on the left. So he's got 6 players there that he wants to almost rotate and feel like he's got something that, in an attacking sense, is going to be great season-wide. Some of those players haven't really come to the fore. I see our biggest problem between defence and midfield. You can't rely on Sandro Tonali doing all this work. He needs help. And when Bruno Guimaraes is off the pitch, he's got to cover more ground. And when someone like Lewis Miley's actually injured, you think, well, hang on a minute. Someone's got to come here and do a decent job. And Willock is not that kind of player who's going to be tracking back. He's a going forward kind of player. We've seen what he can do when he's got the ball and he runs at defences. So behind that, between Botman, between Tonali, I see that as our biggest problem.
Adam, when you kind of look at what Paul's kind of pointed out there as well, it is worth mentioning. You know, I've just mentioned how difficult the run was, and also no Bruno, no Joel Linton for those games too. I mean, it's going to be an uphill task, really, isn't it?
Yeah, like I understand. Like, you know, we can sit here for hours and be like, well, this is the problem at the top end, this is the problem at the bottom end, this is the problem in the middle. They're all valid, they're all correct. Eddie has got to use the players he's got, and he's got to manage the players he's got. And obviously, with players getting injured, that then puts added minutes, added stress, added exertion on the players who were there. All of a sudden, their job becomes much harder because they're not going to get a break and stuff like that. I think the games we've had, this run's going to be horrible, right? And I don't think anybody realistically went into it expecting us to just start racking up points and surprising teams left, right, and centre. I think we even said on this podcast that realistically, yeah, all right, we're probably going to have a bit of a rough time here. We might come out at the end of it really short of points, but it's been a season where sometimes the performances can sort of encourage you a bit. And certainly there was massive spells of Liverpool game. I thought of the 2 legs against Man City, we made a good account of ourselves. PSG is obviously a really good result. The problem is football's about moments. Like, we want to control games, but no team controls games for 90 minutes. Like, even when you play the best teams, you do have spells. They have spells. And if you look at the Liverpool game and the Man City games in particular, we had really good spells in those games, and we didn't take the chances at the top end of the pitch, and we gave away soft goals at the other end. We weren't really carved open by any of them. They're sort of mistakes that can happen with a bit of bad luck. It's been such a frustrating season because, and we've said it before, like, there's so many games go by and you just think, a bit more clinical, we win that game, or we make a slightly smarter decision at the back, we don't lose that game. And it's just, every game feels like we're so, no matter who we play, by the way, whether we're massive favourites or massive underdogs, it always feels like we're either that close to getting a good result or that close to getting a bad result. It never feels comfortable, but it never feels far away at the same time. And I'm just hoping we come out of this run in a position where the season is still attackable, where whatever ground we've lost in the league, that's still one good run away from being within our sights. There's no reason we can't go to Aston Villa in the FA Cup and progress in that competition, and all of a sudden the FA Cup looks like a realistic possibility for us. Carabao is going to be more challenging than I think people think, but we still should progress comfortably. I just really hope that in terms of both injuries and just morale and general vibe, we come out with this run and we're like, okay, that was really tough, but we're made of stronger stuff. We're not going to like collapse under all of that. We now can push on and see where the season goes, because there's still so much to play for. And we are, by the way, still the reigning Carabao Cup holders.
Oh, yeah, aren't we?
There's no other names we've written on that trophy yet. It's still real to me, goddammit.
We'll cling on to that.
We will still get a mention. We will still get a mention in the final as Man City beat the reigning champions Newcastle.
Oh, that sounds so good. Go on, say it again. Go on.
No. Because they'll say it on the broadcast and I'll go, oh.
Man City thrashed.
Yeah. 5-1.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. But being holders has been very fun indeed. I still can't believe it, even though now
it's winning the trophy and then a defence that runs all the way to the semi-final, and that's
a good defence.
That's really good.
Really, yeah,
it's not bad.
And everyone's going to have a story as well about where they were when they won. I mean, not everybody was at Wembley, right? I mean, I was at my home drinking a bottle of red wine, and I had tickets for Jack D that night, and I was so emotional afterwards I cancelled my tickets.
You couldn't have seen Jack D that night.
No.
That would not have been funny.
The only one crying in the audience.
Yeah, I was not right for days after that.
Now, it's been a big week on talkSPORT. Newcastle's new CEO, David Hopkinson, spoke at length with Jim White, Alex Crook and Gabby Agbonlahor. They were up in Newcastle for the darts, which, of course, we'll get into a bit later. But so much to get into with what Hopkinson had to say. First, though, he doubled down on the idea that he wants Newcastle to be the top club in the world by 2030.
We'll have won the Premier League and the Champions League. Are we talking about that?
We are, but I think 10 years is too long. We have a high ambition here. We have a concrete plan. It's a 5-year plan. It takes us through 2030, and it has benchmarks along the way. A plan without a time frame attached to it is just a fantasy. It's just a dream. So we have a plan here. We have a strategy here. We're working on executing that every single day. But 10 years is too long. We got to think about how we are consistently contending for those top prizes within 5 years. 10 years, you walk at a certain pace. With 5 years, I already feel like we're burning daylight, and we need to get after this every
So by
single day.
2030, Newcastle United, this great club, will have been Premier League champions. That's what you're telling me?
That's our ambition.
Well, it's going to be a bloody exciting 4 or 5 years, isn't it? My word. I mean, there's ambition, Jack.
Yeah.
And there's being a bit fanciful, isn't there? I mean, is that realistic? Seriously, I mean, when you look at this season, for example, Newcastle picked up 5 points from the top 6.
Yeah, I know.
We've just seen them run over by Manchester City in a semi-final. We've just seen them battered by Liverpool. And that's to do with the fact that they are battling on 4 fronts this season. The squad is clearly not big enough or has enough quality to be able to cope with that. And he's saying in 4 or 5 years, they'll be the top club in the world and winning the Premier League.
Yeah, so to be honest, another statistic I thought was mental. I saw that we've put the most crosses in the Premier League and scored 1 goal.
Great stat.
So, I mean,
Great
that is
stat.
absolutely shocking as well. And the thing is now, they've said this for me, I'm going to judge every single thing they do on this. Because you could have maybe made it a bit less ambitious. I like the ambition, the idea of like understand what they want to do. But I think putting it out there in public means that you're giving Newcastle fans an actual set deadline of like, right, by this point, this is going to happen. And I will now judge every single little thing they do on that. So what I want to see now is I need sponsorship deals. I want the training ground announced. I want something on the stadium. And then the transfer windows need to be, like this summer needs to be an overhaul for me anyway. I think we're getting to the point where this squad has maybe hit past its peak. That's nothing against the players. They've given me the best times I've ever had as a Newcastle fan. They have delivered some incredible moments, but the best teams who want to win trophies, understand that it's time the cycle's over.
Do you like what Hopkinson said there, though? Do you like it? Or do you find it a bit frustrating?
Well, I think that I like the idea of, like, of course, the whole point of this takeover was that Newcastle were going to become one of the best clubs. But I think that by saying 2030, you're now essentially giving everyone else and all of us as Newcastle fans something to actually look for. Newcastle fans are not stupid. You know, they're not stupid. They will not take this sort of, because this could be seen as a bit of PR, really. They won't take it. So they will want results. They want action. As I was saying, if there's nothing on the training ground within the next year, there's nothing on the stadium within the next year, there's going to be some serious questions asked of David Hopkinson, despite all of his incredibly impressive CV.
Paul, what do you make of it?
It's very different in domestic sport here compared to domestic sport in America. If you take the Denver Broncos, for instance, they've gone from being a massively losing team last year to the AFC Championship game. These turnarounds are possible because of drafts, because of different ways of gaining talent and staff turnover. Football's different. Very, very different. It takes time. Sometimes you need players like Lewis Miley to come through and you don't sell them. You need to keep hold of your Elliot Andersons, you know, for the long term, that kind of stuff. It's a very, very different climate that we have in soccer. Let's put it that way, because he is American. And
He's Canadian.
Well, sorry. I've made that mistake so many times. Anyway, when it comes to what he said, I applaud the positivity. But when it comes to it, I don't believe that we're going to get there by then.
No.
I think 10 years, from what he's saying, 10 years is just a little bit too far to be making these kind of predictions. But we are realistic football fans at Newcastle, and we've seen very, very good times. But we've never climbed the mountain in the Premier League. We've never climbed it in Europe from a Champions League perspective. So, yeah, I think we're going to remain realistic.
You said Newcastle United fans aren't stupid. I would just like to say I am. Right? I really like that. Or it's entirely fan service. It's well briefed. It's talking points that they've worked on with the club. Yeah. But I am a fan, and I do like to be serviced. And imagine if he came out and they were like, "So do you think Newcastle have got aspirations of winning like the top champions by 2030?" And he laughed and went, "Oh, buddy, absolutely not. We suck." Like, what would we be saying then? Like, he's got to come out and say,
in that
we've got
interview,
ambition.
Jim White gave him a chance. Jim White said 10 years. And he went, no, 5 years.
Yeah, but if you haven't got that, if you haven't got ridiculous ambition, I know, of course it's probably not. I don't think we'll do it. But if you haven't got that ambition, if you're not willing to go on the journey, even if it is very pie in the sky and it's just some nice buzzwords said by someone who's in a job, then what we're doing it for?
No, again, but do you not think it puts now more scrutiny, as I said, on everything they do? Because, like, for example, the revenue, because this was another thing he talked about in the interview. He talked about now, but that's his big thing. He's going to be all on the revenue, trying to get it all sorted. So where are these sponsorship deals? Why isn't the training ground sponsored? Why don't we have a training ground kit sponsor? Why isn't even St James's Park sponsored? There were opportunities here to make money, and he's been in the job 5 months, it was. So there's already an opportunity for him to have done something. He hasn't actually done anything yet. And that's why I'm saying with this thing of 2030, you are just now setting a clear deadline of whereby fans can judge every single little thing you do and make their own decision on it.
What if he's right?
Well,
What if he's right?
I hope he is, but I need to see some evidence of it.
Happy day. If he's right,
but I need to see some evidence of it. You know, the training grounds up. All these things are things that need to happen. We need something. You can't come out and say this and then not have any action to back it up. And that's where I'm at.
Need some evidence in the next 2
You need
years.
some evidence of it.
Look, like I say, I'm stupid, and if I get proved stupid over the back of this, then absolutely fine.
Yeah, in 5 years we'll be saying you're the cleverest and you always have been.
Well, it'd be incredible, wouldn't it?
It would be amazing. It would. But I think that point, Paul, about football being a completely different entity is absolutely right. Look, he's got experience working at Real Madrid as well, and working with Real Madrid, of course. So he does know that kind of sphere. But even if you look at someone, a team like Arsenal, for example, look how long it's taken them. They still haven't won the Premier League, and their starting point, because of all the rules and because of the restrictions that Newcastle have placed on them, which isn't moaning, it's just a fact. They are in a more difficult starting position than Arsenal even are, and they haven't even won the league yet, and it's been a while. Yeah. So it is a bit of a way, and it's things like he was actually asked about the restrictions and PSR changing to SCR, and he just said, "Yeah, it's going to be tough, but we'll find a way around it."
Real Madrid is an easy sell. Arsenal is an easier sell these days. Newcastle, we have evidence from the last 9 months that Newcastle is a hard sell. All you got to do is look at Benjamin Chesko. You look at loads of them.
There's a long list.
Delaf,
Even
Trafford,
Gabriel Bonlohus said on talkSPORT, and I've confronted him about this on social media before, saying people would rather choose a London club than Newcastle United. At the time, I was visceral, saying, how dare you say that about my club? But the fact is, Gabby had a point. He had a point because people have chosen other teams over us. So this guy has got his work cut out to make sure that people see Newcastle as the right sell.
Yeah, and then that's why this season becomes even more important. Because if we don't get any European football, you're not only then going to struggle to start attracting the players that you want to certainly get to this 2030 aim, you're going to have a struggle keeping maybe the likes of a Tino Livramento, a Sandro Tonali, a Lewis Hall. Unfortunately, now, if you're putting this out there, every single little thing you do and every bad season you have has major ramifications going forward. Because as Paul said, Newcastle do sometimes struggle to attract players, rightly or wrongly. Footballers decide that's the way they want to go. So then every season that we have has to be good, productive.
And some of that, of course, would have been to do with wages as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But talking of transfers, Adam, he was also asked about the January window, and he said that he was in conversations with Ross Wilson, the sporting director. There was a lot of work going on behind the scenes, but they couldn't identify any targets that they thought long-term were the right kind of deals for Newcastle to make. Have they been naive not investing in this window, or have they done the right thing by not splurging money for the sake of it?
I think a lot of people were quite sniffy about that comment in terms of how can you be underprepared for this? Like the size of scouting networks, the size of your data teams, how can you not know where to go and find these? Newcastle were genuinely, from the very start of that month, they were prepared to bring in, I think it was a centre-back, a left-back and a central midfielder, maybe depending on if somebody left, the quality of someone they could get. But like we've said, we have to shop in the aisles that we can actually buy in. And it's not quite the same as the aisles we would like to buy in. So occasionally you've got to look for a bit of a bargain, occasionally you've got to look for a bit of a development, sometimes a project, something like that. And I can it's really frustrating because I think the squad desperately needs a bit of help for the rest of the season if we want to go and do something. It's going to be really difficult. But it wasn't a particularly busy window. We've actually been one of the clubs that's done really well out of January historically over the last couple of years. Gordon came in, Bruno came in, Byrne came in. Trippier as well. We've done quite well out of January windows in the past. But most clubs now really do try to avoid it unless they can help it. One, you don't get enough lead-in time with the player. They're expected to hit the ground running. You might be in the midst of a load of fixtures, so there's very little time on the training ground. Teams try to avoid it unless the opportunity is just unmissable. And I think, given the changes to the financial regulations, I know they keep kicking this down. Oh, don't worry, the next transfer window will be really good because we've not done this one. that does my head in as much as anybody else's. But I think given that the changes are fully going to come in, and bear in mind, we voted for these.
We did, yeah.
If you want to look at like which clubs are going to do well out of this change and which clubs aren't, Crystal Palace, Brighton, they voted against it. They're proper sort of like sell to buy clubs. But us, Aston Villa, the ones who were just sort of below that, we did vote for it. So obviously there is an expectation in the club that it's not free pass. It's not going to open everything up for us, but it is going to be better than the current situation. I guess you've just got to take them at their word. Like they were prepared to bring somebody in. It's not that they're just sort of making excuses for not bothering. But if the deal wasn't there, the deal wasn't there.
We can't do what Man City did last January, where they're bringing Kusanov.
We can't do what they did this January.
They're bringing Marmoush when they've got Haaland. You think 70 million. Oh, he's pretty good. We'll have him. 70 million. There you go. We can't do that. We've got to be shopping in the same sort of bargain basements as everybody else.
Yellow sticker players, essentially, is what we
Don't
do.
call them that.
No, they're much better than
call them that.
In more kind of worrying terms as well, Jack, of course, right at the end of the window, there was some strange links with Sandro Tonali potentially to Arsenal. Now, who really knows what went on with this situation? It was reported that his agent had essentially offered him to Arsenal. Then his agent came out and said that had never happened. There was definitely no contact between the two clubs. But, I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like most Newcastle fans looked at that and maybe thought, here we go again. You know, scarred from last summer. How do you kind of feel about all of that?
Yeah, there's no smoke without fire. It might not have been his agent, but it's certainly an agent has offered him to Arsenal. And he's got to have some connection to Sandro Tonali. You can't have just some random, no connection at all, offering him to Arsenal. Now, Tonali's form has been very up and down this season. Probably, actually, at the moment, he's in a massive downer at this moment in time. I still wouldn't be advocating for selling him at all, but ultimately, we can't have another Alexander Isak saga, and I don't think we will with Tonali. I didn't think we would with Isak, but I definitely don't think we will with Tonali. Simply because...
I've been hurt before.
No, I know. Because with Isak, though, he just never seemed like that type of character, to be honest. But what was with Tonali is I do think he is genuinely grateful for what the club did for him during his gambling ban, and also what the fans do for him as well. So if he is going to move on, I would rather just a pretty painless sale, make some good money from him, and then away he goes, and we thank him for his service. But equally, a lot of it will depend on what happens in the rest of the season. Newcastle can get some European football, and I don't know, see, we can maybe do well in the FA Cup. You've got a better chance of keeping these players. I think that's the problem. Like, the issue with having an off-season whereby you're trying to break into this echelon, the upper echelons of European football all the time. An off-season can actually have some really mitigating bad circumstances coming up, whereby you might lose a player like that.
Can I just reassure everyone really quickly? Like, what do people think agents do all year?
Well,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every single player, whether you like them or not, right? Whether you're your favourite or someone you'd happily get rid of, their agent is spending all year speaking to brands, speaking to sponsors, and speaking to other agents and scouts and every other club going. Like every player at this Newcastle squad, their agent will have spoken to other clubs. And likewise, we will speak to dozens of other agents. There's a constant sort of like ecosystem of people feeling out where might be some interest, who might be after a midfielder, is there money to spend. This stuff just doesn't normally get out because how much of a nothing story did this immediately become? Newcastle denied it, Tonali's agent denied it, like there was nothing there whatsoever. But undoubtedly, yes, someone connected with Tonali will have spoken to Arsenal at some point during the transfer window. They'll have spoken to dozens of other clubs. That's what they do. I don't think... you're absolutely right, there's no smoke without fire, but there is constantly fire.
Constantly.
It's there all the time. I don't think it indicates
I think it was strange that it was from David Ornstein. That was more... because I think most people would consider him one of the more reliable...
Oh, it'll definitely have been... Things it'll have been true.
Yeah.
Someone will have said, I've just spoke to an agent who says the Tonali's thing he spoke to. It'll 100% have been true, but it can still be nothing while being true, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that
What's more, how many one-club players do you have anymore?
That's true.
Not everybody is, Ryan Giggs. Not everybody, does, what Robert Lee did, staying at a club for such a long period of time. These are transitional players from one place to another based on other circumstances, like European Championships and World Cups, where prices are inflated. And it's the agent's job to position their person in the right place for their career and their family.
One thing that made me laugh was after the semi-final with Manchester City, Pep Guardiola was in deep conversation with Tonali on the pitch. That obviously fanned the flames of the
top
fire
player. Yeah.
that you're talking about. And then he was asked about it, and Pep just went, "Yeah, just speak really good Italian."
Yeah.
So it's like, great, well done. You've done a bit of Duolingo, have you? Yeah, it's looking like hopefully it's.
I think one of those ones with Guardiola, he speaks to everyone, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I don't think that's anything.
Yeah, when he's coaching the players from the other.
Yeah,
half.
no, yeah.
Nonsense, absolute nonsense. Something else I've got.
What he's doing.
Performative.
He knows what he's doing.
Something else I've got to ask all of you about, by the way, some sad January transfer news, but also, you know, we've got to reflect on this man, Jamal Lascelles, moving on from the club. He's gone to Leicester, and Adam, I mean, what a hero that man is. I just absolutely love that bloke and what he's done for Newcastle United.
He's sort of, I think, as time goes on and we sort of look back at this, I don't think any player is going to represent this part of Newcastle United's history better than Jamal Lascelles. Like, he was part of, you know, he came in young, exciting, got that double deal with Darlow, which was really weird. Got into the first team because so many more established players were, you know, not available, letting the side down, wanting away. He was the only player really to come out of that relegation season with a lot of credit. Like, he was actively fighting for a team that was circling the drain. And then nobody was really expecting Rafa to make him captain in the Championship. There was like loads of other better contenders. He gave him the armband. He was brilliant all season. We got back into the Premier League. There was like, oh, well, we might let him go back to Forest now because he was clearly more of a Championship player. You know, acquitted himself really well. He went through Benitez, he went through Bruce, he was there with the takeover. And, you know, the guy ended up playing Champions League football. He came out of the wilderness, having been replaced by Botman, pocketed Kylian Mbappe for an evening, and then the next time you see him, he's got one hand on the three-handed Carabao Cup trophy, where all three club captains raised it at the same time. And I just don't think you're going to get somebody who better symbolises this absolute roller coaster that the last 10 or 15 years have been better than that. And I really hope it works out for him at Leicester. Like, it must have been really hard for him seeing all this from the sidelines, not playing as much as he would like to. I know he's had issues with injuries and whatnot. But I really, really hope there's another chapter in his career for him.
He's got to have a testimonial, hasn't he, Jack?
I think he's got to have a testimonial. I would be really disappointed if he doesn't have a testimonial. A guy who, from that moment against Southampton away, we lost 3-1, Janmaat got sent off. And after the game, he comes out and basically says, none of them care. And he called out the dressing room
That's not what he said.
No, it's not what he said. But I can't say it, can I?
None of them care.
Yeah, I can't say it. So, yes. But he called out the dressing room, Moussa Sissoko, Gino Wijnaldum, Fabrizio Colacini. All players who on so much more money than he was. I had full respect for him. And I think he scored in the next game. We beat Swansea 3-0 at home and he scored. And I was like, wow, he's delivering on what he said here. And then he comes up 2017-18. And I will stand by this until the very day I die, that Jamal Lascelles should have been in the England squad that year for the World Cup.
Southgate had his number, mate.
Southgate's got his number.
2018
he should have been.
World Cup squad, he should have been, because he was an absolute rock at the back for Newcastle. Scored some massive goals for us that season. Was genuinely brilliant in a pretty average Newcastle team, whereby we came up and we signed Hosselu. That was about it. So he was brilliant then. And then look, Steve Bruce, he got Bruced. Who didn't? But then ultimately he came back from that, playing the Champions League twice against PSG. So good. Absolutely love that bloke. And one thing, he wasn't from the area. It didn't matter. He got what Newcastle was. He understood what the fans wanted, what they needed to see from their players, and he didn't let standards drop ever.
I think that's the biggest thing you've just said on Jamal Lascelles. He wasn't from the area, but he got it. Because it is a different culture. No matter where you go around the country, there are certain clubs who have a definitive culture, and Newcastle has that as a one-club city. And I've mentioned Robert Lee before. He got it. He got it. And Lascelles is in the same sort of pigeonhole for me as Robert Lee. And that's the biggest compliment I can pay him.
Yeah, absolute legend of the game. And best of luck to Jamal, of course, for the future. Right, gents, you mentioned, of course, there, Newcastle being a one-club city, and a huge part of that, of course, is the stadium. Just going back to that interview that Jim White had with David Hopkinson, he was asked about the plans around St James's Park and the future of where Newcastle are going to play. Here's what Hopkinson had to say.
Well, the truth is we haven't decided. St. James is a magical place. It's going to be an extraordinary place here Saturday when we play our next match. It's 53,000. We think we could be bigger. And that, of course, is revenue. Now, that's a major investment. We haven't made the final decision on what we're going to do here. We are working on this every day. every day, deciding whether it's here, whether it's a new site, whether it's a reno or a new stadium. But we have got an opportunity that we're pursuing, and we're working on it every day.
If you stay here, David, and I want to push you on this, everybody loves this place. How much bigger could it become? How many more seats do you envisage you could put in?
At least 10,000. We all of our modeling, all of our best modeling today, all the capacity starts in the 65 to 68,000 range. I don't think bigger than that is good, but we also want to make sure if we're going to do something, it's material and significant. 10 to 15,000 here would be right.
Would you contemplate moving?
I think a new stadium is something we're considering, but not really moving that far. We don't want to be in some farmer's field out in the middle of nowhere. One of the things that makes Newcastle so special, such a special place, is its St. James Park. Right here in the center of town.
You need to do something, don't you, in terms of driving revenue, increasing revenue. You need to do something with this place.
We do. Look, doing nothing is always an option. I don't think it's the most intelligent option. And, we've got the support from ownership to be looking at what the best way forward is. And we haven't decided that yet.
Just firstly, I love Jim White as an estate agent there. It's brilliant. Are you thinking about moving me? You've got some lovely properties. But on the actual plans, he says, look, no decision made yet. And there was that point, Paul, about the fact that if they did move, it would still be in the centre of town. What do you want to see happen, ideally?
I know they're limited because of the houses behind the stand that everybody sees on the cameras. And if you had a house there, you wouldn't want to sell it either. But the fact is, if they are going to move, it has to be close to the city. One of the greatest things about Newcastle United is that the stadium is spitting distance from the big market. And people leave the stadium and they're in their favourite pub, whether it's the Strawberry or down at the Beehive on the corner of the big market.
Oh, the Beehive.
And the thing is, if you want to be there, you can be there in seconds. That's the greatest thing about it. You go to the Stadium of Light, how long does it take to get from there to the city? Too long. Too long. But if they are going to move, there's a site there where a lot of people are going to be disappointed if it was moved there, but they will be liking it too, and that's the Town Moor. Because they have the Hoppins there every year, and that's lots of rides and it's basically the fair, isn't it? That site's probably big enough to do it, and it's right next to the town centre. That's about as far away as they want to do. But Newcastle is not the biggest place. It's not London, and it's a difficult one to figure out.
If you move it to the Town Moor, though, where'd you put the Hoppins?
St James's Park.
I'm so against a new stadium, and I've been with work. I've been to a lot of the new ones across Europe and stuff, and they're stunning locations to watch a game of sport, but they don't feel like home. You know what I mean? You lose something with the modern stadium, I always think. And bear in mind, I'm not in charge of running a Premier League football team who has to make the next step up into the level of competition. So this is not me speaking from this is what they should do. I just think leaving St James's Park, we would lose something you cannot replace with all the money in the world. Like that, it's so close to the pitch. People have got, like you say, they've got their match day routines. It's so interwoven into the fabric of the identity of being from that part of the world. It doesn't matter how great a new stadium is, how many concerts it could have, how many tours you could do. You get an underground race car track like they've got at Spurs' stadium. I think there is an element. I'm going to sound really stupid here. There's an element of soul to something like a building like St James's Park. It's been there for over 100 years. You cannot move away from something.
And that's such a good point, Adam, because also, he was asked there about the capacity and basically taking it to 65,000. Is it really worth losing that? No. Just to get a bit more revenue and maybe a place to have a few more concerts, Jack? I just don't think it is.
Not for a new ground. As long as you can actually expand St James's Park, then there is no question in my mind that you stay at that ground, because basically of what Adam said there in terms of it's such a unique place. I mean, I absolutely love going there. Some great memories, some terrible memories as well. But equally, some key moments of growing up and being a football fan have been in St James's Park. And I look at Tottenham as an example, and I think brilliant stadium. Wow, what a lovely place. But they lose most of the time they play there because it's such an easy place to rock up and play. And actually, as Mourinho said, he said when you're at Newcastle, the crowd aren't there to watch the game. They're there to play the game with their team. And I think if you change to a bit of a soulless bowl, there's more corporate seats or whatever, I think you're going to lose what makes Newcastle so unique and such a great place to play football. Because although the home atmosphere has been criticised a little bit this season, still when it's on, it is absolutely up there with the best atmospheres around. And I don't think I know the fans will be the same, but I do think you would lose a bit of it moving somewhere else. I think it's really, really important if they can find a way of expanding, staying there. And that's it, because, I mean, there's 120 pubs within a mile radius.
Well, have you ever seen that league table?
Yeah, it's mental,
every
yeah.
stadium in the UK ranked
like
by
120
the proximity of pubs
Yeah.
within a 1 mile radius. And second, I can't
Wolves.
remember where it is like
Wolves.
Wolves, but Wolves have got like 40 or 50.
Yeah.
And then first is us with 120.
Yeah,
like the
amazing.
jump up is unbelievable.
Away fans always say the same things, don't they? They always say, like, also, as much as they're up at the top, they always say, like, how great a stadium actually is to go and watch
I think
football.
the biggest sell for staying where they are is just imagine. I mean, I love the use of the words soulless bowl, by the way, because that's probably something they would call it. But if you were to move to a new stadium, what do you then do with the St James's Park site? Because if you spoke to the general public in Newcastle, you'd say, don't you dare touch that. There would be protests if you even take a chair out of that place. That's how much it means to the people of Newcastle. So the biggest sell is, if you move, what do you do with that site?
The Hoppins would be unbelievable there,
That'd
mate.
be good, wouldn't it?
That would be fun. I can't get that idea out of my head now.
Sam Fender would have a residency 364 days a year.
A couple of gigs and a waltzer. Yeah, that'll be all right.
Now, we're having the perfect crossover tonight as the BetMGM Premier League of Darts kicks off tonight in Newcastle, of course. Luke Littler, Luke Humphries, Jan van Veen, Michael van Gerwen, Gerwyn Price, Johnny Clayton, Stephen Bunting and Josh Rock will take on the 17-week competition. And, of course, talkSPORT have you covered with the coverage tonight on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. Paul, we love you here as a Newcastle fan, but let's get back to your roots. And I just want to talk to you about tonight. I mean, what are you expecting as it all kicks off?
It's the most exciting Premier League night of the year, with all due respect to the playoffs at the O2 in London at the end of May, because everybody wants to know how things are going to start. The amount of media that's surrounded this night has been incredible because of the last couple of years when Littler has transformed this sport into something that is now seen as mainstream. But we are now looking at people setting records. So Littler has already spoken to a lot of media outlets, including talkSPORT, about how he wants to set new records. He's only played in 2 Premier Leagues. They're talking about him, bettering what Phil Taylor's done and what other people have done, and even beating Michael van Gerwen's record average of 123.4. He set himself a benchmark of 125 to try and get to the perfect sort of game.
Is it achievable for him?
Yes, it is. Because we've seen him at the World Championship against Ryan Meikle average 140 in a set. Now, if he can do that over 3 legs, all he's got to do is replicate that. Replication for him is not a problem. In previous generations, people playing darts and doing it over a long period was seen as a problem. For him, he actually gets better when it's a longer format. So if he gets a decent start, 125 is very possible.
Was it Luke Humphries saying that he already thinks he's the greatest ever player? I mean,
Yeah.
Is that premature? Is he bang on, in your opinion?
He's not wrong. If you look at certain generations of this sport over the last 50 years, Eric Bristow was the best of the late 70s and 80s. Then you got the Phil Taylor generation, and he is the greatest darts player ever. That is irrefutable. But there have been 2 other players in the last 25 years who have played to a higher standard than Phil Taylor, and that's Michael van Gerwen, who is no longer in his peak, but Littler is now in his peak, and he can do things that Phil Taylor could not in small fits and starts. But what we're going to grade Littler on in his next 10 years is, can you do what Phil Taylor did in the 2009 European Championship? Can you play 5 games and average 110 for the tournament? That's what he's got to achieve if he wants to be the greatest ever.
In terms of the event itself as well, we just heard Jan van Veen there saying that he hopes the Geordies root for him. I mean, you've obviously watched darts all over the world, but it must be one of the best places, Newcastle, to watch the darts and
It is.
be a part of that atmosphere.
Especially when Chris Dobie's playing and war flags are on the stage doing this.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Oh, it's magical. It's truly magical. But Van Veen coming into the Premier League, he'll be very happy that he's got Littler first because he's not really under that much pressure. All the pressure's on Littler, but he is going to be wearing black and white because he always does. Price is probably going to be wearing black and white as well because they like to wear the colours of the place that they're going to. So a lot of orange in the Netherlands, a little bit more blue when they go to Scotland, and shades of green when they go to Belfast and Dublin. So it's very, very clever that they do this. But if you're wearing black and white all the time and they don't have Chris Dobie in the Premier League this year, who are those fans going to cheer for? Who are we going to go for? Oh, that guy who always wears black and white. So maybe he's going to have the fans with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking to Chris Dobie, were you telling me, have you been to St James's Park with him before as well?
Yeah.
When was that? Do you remember the game? Was it?
A couple of years ago, we went to see Newcastle versus Fulham. And it was a goal scored by someone who's no longer at the club, who shall remain nameless.
Jamal Lascelles.
It was a win. I hadn't been to see Newcastle at St James's for quite some time. The last time I went to see them before that was Leeds, and Rod Wallace scored that day.
Wow.
I mean, I'd lived overseas and all sorts. I've been really busy, so I hadn't been to see them for a while. But yeah, that was a great day. Being with Chris and his family, his dad, Gordon, and his uncle, just listening to Tim Healy in the VIP room, and it was a great Geordie day.
And just on the where North East Arts is at the moment, I mean, there's plenty of Newcastle fans and brilliant players from the region as well. It must be great to see, and it looks like it's in a great place.
Yeah, it's a hot spell because you've got Callan Rids from Bedlington. He's won multiple PDC titles. You've got Ryan Joyce, who's largely seen as the greatest double 16 hitter in the world, never mind domestically. He's a Newcastle fan. And you've got Adam Hunt as well from Chesley Street. There are so many great talents coming through as well, like Ryan Branley. He's a great young player. But we should throw a little bit of kudos on the amateur circuits, which are starting to bring these young stars through, like the Junior Darts Corporation and the Amateur Darts Circuit are really starting to get these young Geordies and everybody from the northeast of England going into the same sort of playing halls as the Dobies and the Ridses.
Oh, really, really exciting stuff. And of course, we're really looking forward to it. And talkSPORT will have you covered, of course. Now, next up, guys, Brentford at home this Saturday. And given the recent run, Adam.
Why have you said that like I'm managing?
yeah. And I'm expecting Eddie Howe answer for this, by the way.
Right, good.
It's a really important game, this. I know we say that
We
most
said this
weeks,
before
but
we came
it is.
on. Every week we're like, hey, gotta get a win here. Like,
Got
such
to,
an important spell. And then we don't get a win, and then it's nobody else pulls away. Yeah, they're all really important between now and the end of the season because...
Do you feel, though, that this game in particular, and let's be honest, by the way, this is not an easy game. Brentford have just gone to Villa and won.
Correct.
They are a very, very good side.
Yeah, they are.
And they haven't had a game in midweek like Newcastle have once again. But do you feel like this is important because out of the games in this current run, because it's at home, because it's against a team like Brentford, it is one of the most winnable?
It's really important because, like you say, it does feel like one of the most winnable. But the reason it's important is because we have, through our form, put so much pressure on these home games, these winnable home games, because we've had so many missed opportunities when we've been away. You know, I've said before, we're never that far away, but not getting the result is not getting the result at the end of the day. And it puts that much extra pressure on these home matches because we know then when we go away with the slightly trickier games, went to Brentford and we lost away from home, but we do feel like that's a team we should beat. And if it is at home, then we should be doing that. And to be in a position where, yeah, all right, that and Tottenham away, who, are about as bad at home as we are away, that is this nice little island in this run of just relentless, oppressive, really, really good teams and really, really daunting fixtures. Yeah, we do have to win. We do have to win that because the expectation we've put on ourselves. Like, can you imagine the mood if in the middle of this run, the Brentford home game is a bad result? That's pressure we've put ourselves under. But again, if we're not the kind of side that can, under that pressure, beat Brentford at home, then we're not the kind of side that deserves to finish anywhere near where we think we're going to finish this season.
And Jack, there's one name on the team sheet that I think we're all hoping for, and that, of course, is
Will Asula.
That's what the sales bringing back.
Will Asula.
But of course, no. Bruno being back would be a massive lift. I think even psychologically, let alone what he can do on the field.
Well, the Premier League record without him since he first started his first game is no wins, isn't it? So yes, not even just psychologically, it's actually factually we need him.
Mathematically, you do need him.
Exactly. You've got to get the point where you have got to win without him, though. So if he doesn't play, then Brentford at home is a game where you're like, okay, can you do it without him? I don't know if they can, but hopefully they need to. Need the crowd behind them. I'm sure the crowd will be behind them. Brentford, we've got a good record at home against Brentford. I don't think we've lost a game. We've got a draw the first time we played them, I think, in the Premier League. But then apart from that, it is a really good record against Brentford at home. They are doing well under Keith Andrews. He seemed to have got a tune out of them. Igor Thiago is extremely good. I wasn't actually expecting that. The first goal feels really important just because of almost the mood within the team and maybe St James's Park as well. I think if Brentford got an early goal, the way we're so bad at breaking down a low block. And
yeah, you don't want to make it any harder.
Really don't want to make they're already going to probably come in and sit in anyway. If we conceded first, and then it's just Newcastle with 75% possession, passing it around from side to side, and then swinging crosses into the box for their massive centre backs. I think you're gonna. I think you're gonna have problems there, and I think you'll actually get a point where the crowd actually maybe get a little pretty negative, to be honest, simply because we've seen this happen over and over again. There's been games this season where we've conceded, and you're just watching it like we're not going to score. We're not going to score because for whatever reason, there's some issues in the attacking third of the game that we can't get right at the moment, and we've got to do it with the personnel we have, and it's not happening.
Absolutely. At least, hopefully, Paul, some fans will have a good time in the Beehive.
Yes,
before and after. Right, it's time for our Bet Builder with BetMGM. Remember, you can download the app or head to betmgm.co.uk. I'm going to be confident, guys. I'm going to go for a Newcastle win.
Don't we say that every week?
Yeah. Always right.
I'm
going to go for a Newcastle win. What are you going to go for, Jack?
Both teams to score, but we'll score first.
Okay.
And we'll be 2-0 up when they get a goal.
Adam?
I'm going straight from here, face full of television makeup to play 7-a-side in goal. So I'm going to back the goalkeepers and say there will be more than 5.5 goalkeeper saves.
Ooh, for both?
For both teams. Or shots on target, as your man would call them.
Yeah. Well, we're in for a brilliant game. That's all from us today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to our panel, of course, Jack, Adam and Paul. Join us next week. This show is sponsored by BetMGM. Download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk. 18+. Gambleaware.org. Please gamble responsibly. Have a good one. Goodbye.